Great. Hudson Jameson.
Yes, hello, that is me.
Hi, yeah, it's such a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you.
We're at ProtocolBerg
Yes.
during Berlin Blockchain Week in 2025, right? Is that the correct year?
Yep. This is a great conference so far, honestly. I am blown away by just, how chill the vibes are, I guess. It's not like shilly, nothing like that.
That's really cool. Let's start talking about ProtocolBerg then, since this is where we are, and we'll set the context a little bit. First of all, it's the second ProtocolBerg. Did you go last year?
I didn't go last year, but I was there in spirit because I really wanted to go.
Yeah, it is the crew that puts this on, the Department of Decentralization. They do a great job. Have you been to ETH Berlin?
Yes, I was at the first ETH Berlin, and I think the second one, that was a while ago, so I can't remember exactly, but I've been to some DoD stuff, yeah.
Very cool. So you used to work for Ethereum Foundation. What are you up to now?
Yeah, so I worked for the Ethereum Foundation for about 5.5 years, and then 2021 worked at Flashbots for a little bit. Around that time was also involved with Zcash, helping them start up the Zcash Grants program, getting elected to the board for that grants program, and then from there worked at Polygon for the last 2.5 years. So I'm at Polygon right now, VP of Community, and I do stuff around protocol research, community, some strategy, things like that within Polygon Labs.
That's really cool. Like your career course, going through these different funding models and all very much community based.
Yes, absolutely. So when it comes to community funding models, I also co-founded the Ethereum Cat Herders, which is a group that does decentralized coordination for the protocol. So if there's a protocol meeting that's live streamed, the Ethereum Cat Herders will have someone have a stipend to take notes during the meeting, for instance, like a $50 stipend. Or they'll do educational podcast series, or sometimes even stuff in person. So that's the Ethereum Cat Herders, and I mention them because I feel like having had the experience to work with them and get funding for them and have to ask for grants, and then doing stuff with Zcash and being a grant body and working for Polygon, which is a bigger organization than those other two, to deal with some of the grant stuff around there and some of the funding issues, has just been kind of a whirlwind of all perspectives when it comes to how funding gets tossed in the ecosystem.
Yeah, it's fascinating because we are in this cryptocurrency ecosystem. We've got this blockchain technology that promised to democratize money and funding and capital, and it's been a turbulent ride, I think. And you've been around doing this for quite a while. So
yeah, too long.
Maybe it's not too long. The communities that you are supporting, I'm sure, might argue with that. But it's really close to my heart because here we have the Zero Knowledge Audiovisual Club, which also came from the Zcash community. And we focus a lot on community building and using AV technology, decentralized open source video tech in internet media to help communities grow themselves, basically. And I'm curious about some of your experience with funding community. Do you have much... Have you done much community funding outside of the engineering projects and the science part of it? Development?
Yeah, that's a great question. First of all, shout out ZKAV Club for having me on here and for doing this. I know that the audience can't see or hear if you're hearing this in podcast form, but there's a whole setup with a great crew here. And the cool thing is they are funded by grants, like you said, correct? So, what I would say about funding outside of the norm. When you think about grant funding and ecosystems like Ethereum, a lot of it is for technical projects and stuff on the protocol layer, stuff, open source clients, different tooling for developers and things like that. And it's harder to do funding for media projects or things that are more social that may not have a quantitative response. You won't be able to you could maybe do view count or something like that, but then that could be manipulated. Whereas if you're funding, a project is a technical project and software, is that software built? Is it not built? Not, how good it is, just did it get done? So that's the struggle I think that a lot of grant programs have with funding these non-purely technical projects. And yeah, if there's like an answer to what to do about that, I think that you just need to create better metrics. Like when I say you, meaning mainly the grant programs, but really it is also on the grantees to like talk to the grant programs about, yeah, here's how we want to represent ourselves, and this is what success looks like. A lot of people need to remember to really hone in on what does success look like when you're pitching yourself to get grant funding.
Yeah, this is first of all, thanks for the shout out to the ZKAV Club. We're doing this on a volunteer basis. This current recording station that we have, the community-powered content creation studio that we're putting up during Berlin Blockchain Week, and the funding that we have in the ZKAV Club is actually for like an individual project that I decided to approach the Zcash Grant Committee about, I guess it was in January, December. And instead of trying to get them to fund the club as a whole and kind of give them this control over what we're doing and asking these questions about how do you measure metrics of a club, it's really vague. We created a live stream series that's once a month, and it's educational about community growth and how to grow your community and how to market your community, or more or less, using different decentralized and open source technologies. So I'm kind of compartmentalizing the funding and then trying to figure out how to fund these other projects, like this. Like when we approached ProtocolBerg, when we approached DoD, and we approached some other organizations at Berlin Blockchain Week with this strange idea of like, we're going to show up with some people who know how to use a bunch of equipment, we're bringing the equipment, and we want to talk to the community and help the community document themselves. Everyone's like, what are you talking about? This is not what production companies do, and we're not a production company. Like, we're something a bit different. So yeah, what do you think about this kind of approach, and do you have any tips?
Yes, great question. So I think it's a great approach. It actually rolls into some of the tips that I'll be giving on this. One of the biggest ones being, the top two things when you're doing grants, and this is especially true when you're trying to get grants, I should say. So like, let's say you have a project and you want to get a grant, especially if it's non-technical. The number one thing is going to be whoever you try to get grants from, look at their incentives. You really need to match incentives, because a lot of the time there are people who I've seen apply for, when I was on the Zcash Grants Committee for I think a year and a half or 2 years. I think it was almost 2 years. We would get so many grant requests that I'd read through and I'd be like, clearly they didn't look at like why we're here, like why we're here as a grants organization and what our edict is and what we're funding and why we're funding things. So like, if it doesn't match up, either find a way to have it match up for that, or move on to another, grants group that is willing to fund something like what you're doing. The other thing I would also say is, when you come to talk to a grants organization, I think that along with finding aligned incentives, really trying to shape some creative things that like feel like bonuses for the grants committee that's giving you money would be great. To say like, not only is this a project that we're doing, we also have this stretch goal that we're not asking for more funding from, but we really feel like if we get this first part done, then this will happen. And then kind of like make it a narration, make it a story, tell a story about it. And then the third thing, I think I said two things earlier, there's actually a third thing. The most successful projects that are purely grant-based do a lot of hustling in person at conferences. If someone came to me and asked for a grant and I knew them in person, that already alleviates this whole part of my brain of, are they a scammer? Or like, could they be a scammer? Because you never want your grant program to get embroiled in this, someone took the money and ran, someone took the money and didn't do enough, or that kind of thing. So like, social capital is very underrated when it comes to grants. Like, a lot of the people who have grants around the Ethereum ecosystem and continuously get grants, it's because they show good results and they go back to the same people that know them and they go, oh, well, we've worked with you before, you had good work, you still align with what we're trying to do, there's still an incentive alignment, let's go again, let's go round 2, 3, 4. And so I think that is something that's also a very underrated aspect of the social capital and getting to know people, even if it's just casually in the ecosystem.
really good tips. This is incredibly valuable. So the first is incentive alignment, value alignment. Make sure you're asking the right community for funding, the right grant committee for funding. Second is like add-ons, the things that really make them like think, oh, this person, this group is going above and beyond. And then the third being social capital, like go to conferences, go to events, get to know the people.
Yeah, that can be really hard. I mean, so of course, so ZKAV Club, as funded by Zcash, there's going to be a lot of Zcashers watching that are like, I would never step foot into a conference because I want to stay anonymous, and that's totally valid, like 1,000% valid. But I do think that there also are ways to get social capital on the internet. I mean, if you go to the Zcash forums, there's people on there where if someone from the forums applied for a grant, which sometimes they did, and you've seen them like posting like time and time again and saying really good like posts and comments and arguments, that held so much more weight compared to the other grants being submitted. So just because I say social capital and I mention conferences, this can be done by people who don't have the ability or the finances or whatever to attend in person, whether it be for privacy reasons, financial reasons, etc.
Yeah, it's totally true. And I want to dig into this more because we are at a live event and we are a privacy-focused audiovisual club, which is a bit contradictory, sure. But really, like, that was kind of the spark that led to the creation of the AV Club in the Zcash community, because here we talk a lot about privacy. At the same time, people have to be talking about privacy, and we have to put ourselves out there and our reputations on the line. This does make it easier for us to ask for grant funding compared to someone online where you don't know if there's 5 accounts that are the same person, or if it's an AI at this point. It could just be an AI that's programmed to appeal to a community and their values.
Yep, absolutely. So yeah, the reputation is such a really cool, deep topic, and I think that what we've been like, I guess we're all kind of like now so paranoid about AIs, taking over people's personas and like doing that kind of stuff. It does make it harder for Anons to really, like branch out. I think there are some things. I think there are some things that are so dedicated, it would be hard for an AI to get away with it for long enough right now. Like, there's stuff with the Zcash forums that, like, especially, like, that's like an example I'll pull back to. If there was an AI that started there in January, it would have to then branch off and then start being in Discord, start being in live chats for video streams, maybe, like, video calls where they're just using their voice or using a voice changer. I think you still, in this day and age, can be Anon and still, like, build a reputation. That might not be that way forever. A little dystopian there, but I would say that for now and for, the foreseeable future, I think there's still a big hope for anonymous people wanting to build a reputation and get in on a lot of the stuff, even if they can't attend in person.
Yeah. I mean, it's very optimistic, and it gives me hope that you're saying that, because like I do spend a lot of time in the Zcash community. I spend probably too much time on the forums, like reading and everything. They're very active, and then the Discord as well. And there are definitely some accounts that you're like, I don't know if this is a real person. I don't know if it's another person that's already active in the Zcash community representing a different identity and a different perspective on that identity. And there are ways to be a different sort of identity online and still be able to go to live conferences and things, like using different names and things like that. I'm not sure how you would connect it to, like, if you're asking for a grant. There's still this question of reputation with grants. It is very important.
Yeah, if you're making a new identity on different parts of the internet, or on different parts of wherever, even in the real world, and like going to conferences and using a different name or using a fake name, like, I still think that at the end of the day, you have to find some people you trust. I know that, like, most of the people I know who are purely anonymous online do have to provide some, like, phone call or something to someone to eventually vouch. I mean, even for the Zcash Grants program, you have to KYC for legal reasons, which, are entirely understandable, but unfortunate. I should take that back. Not understandable. We shouldn't have to KYC. It's understandable as in like they have to do that in order for us to get the money out. But anyways, going back, I think that yeah, connecting your real world reputation to your online reputation, even if you have multiple identities, is important to do with one that you want to connect to grants. If you're going to be a part of a grant making group or something like that, because like if you're like living, there's at least one identity where you have a job every day is the expectation for most people. And so if you have that, then you've already given away some of your identity. You can just create another one and use just that one for grants and build that one up from scratch. It would just take a while.
Yeah, definitely it would. So we're talking a lot about Zcash, the Zcash grants, which you were a part of. That was back, it was, like 2022?
2019, roughly.
Oh, wow, okay. So this was actually the ZOMG, right?
Yeah, or maybe it was, hold on, it was not 2019. When was this? It actually might have been 2020, but yeah,
Okay.
ZOMG. Mhm.
Yeah, the ZOMG. And this was really early when the Zcash Grants Committee was kind of spinning up.
Yep, exactly. I was a part of the first 5 people responsible for spinning up that was elected via the voting that they had.
Yeah, the Zcap, I believe.
Zcap voted. That's right. It was Zcap voting on that. And it was a really fun, interesting, cool experience. And there's a lot of things I'm really proud of that we got accomplished there. And I'm really happy to see that with the recent vote that we will still have the Zcash grants continuing is really promising. So I'm glad that that's still happening.
Cool. Let's dig back a little bit. And like you mentioned that you were really proud of some of the things that happened. Like what are some of the grants that you were a part of that you're still proud of?
Yeah, so the biggest one, I think so I feel like when you're building a privacy software, one of the most often overlooked areas is the networking layer. And right now, we don't really have, like in Zcash, you can run Zcash on Tor, but like not as natively and not as like cleanly, and it's hard to program. So Tor asked for a grant to rebuild Tor, basically. And we funded the first half of that. I'm getting some cheers from the AV staff. It was Arto, I think. RT. Yeah, so we funded at least part of Artie's development, which was rebuilding it into a Rust and more web-friendly place. So basically now it could just be a library that they stick into the Zcash stack, no matter if you have a light wallet, mobile wallet, just the full client, whatever you do. So I thought that was probably my favorite one. There was a few other ones that were very interesting around Zcash Media. I'm not sure if Zcash Media, I've not looked at or checked into that one in a while, but they made some really good content. Candidly, I was always on the fence about the timing for Zcash Media way back then. But I now see that a lot of the stuff they have on YouTube is very lifelong, and like you can point people to, and it still is like something that can be used today. So that's another one that I was pretty proud of.
And this is also something that we were talking about marketing and marketing for open source projects, and also like marketing for privacy. Like these are two topics that are historically very difficult to finance marketing for. Yeah, and so are you involved, or have you been involved in other open source projects, like looking for funding on that angle, or?
I don't believe I have been involved in other open source projects looking for funding around privacy specifically. For the most part now, my day-to-day doesn't involve anything with grants or funding specifically. Luckily, I'm kind of out of that hairy mess now. But I still think that it serves a very valuable place in early communities and in early projects. And so, yeah, it's something that like maybe I'll get re-involved in the future. I still sometimes follow the Zcash forums and try to keep up with like what they're doing nowadays and all the changes and so the drama and everything. But yeah, I still think that I'm still very curious to see what Zcash does over the next years.
Nice. What have you read recently about Zcash, or that you've been following that you're excited about?
Yeah, so I've been seeing that there's an openness to look at structures beyond just the Bitcoin client fork as a software base. Like, obviously, someone coming from like the Ethereum Polygon, which is an L2 on Ethereum, like side of things, like, and seeing all of the privacy chains that are on kind of my side turning into roll-ups or doing other things, experimenting with trusted execution environments and all this other stuff, it makes me think, come on, Zcash, catch up. And I think that, like, it's starting to be a thing where some of the research involved is getting to a point where they may be okay with ditching the current code base entirely and moving on to something else. They may have already done it, and I just missed that message. But yeah.
Yeah, I believe there's definitely work being done on that, but I also am not up to date on like the most current as far as how that goes. So let's talk about Polygon. That's where you're at now. And first of all, explain Polygon to me as if I have no idea what it is.
Sure. So Polygon Labs is a company that is building an interoperability solution for layer 2 blockchains. It's called the AggLayer, and they're using zero knowledge technology to do that. So if you have two blockchains and they want to talk to each other and they send a transaction, that transaction gets folded up into a ZK proof. The AggLayer checks to make sure that that proof is not giving one chain more coins than the other, or more whatever than the other, like cheating basically. It's like not double spending, anything like that. And then it aggregates all of these transactions into like a bunch of ZK proofs all bundled into another ZK proof. And then that proof is put on Ethereum. So you're basically allowing for these chains to cross-communicate in a way and still checking every time that they talk to each other. The zero-knowledge technology has become so quick to create the proofs and verify the proofs that you can now have these near instantaneous connections across L2s. And it's not fully there yet. I think by the end of the year, you're going to see something like a lot cooler when it comes to AggLayer. We're in the early stages. The other thing is we have our chain, the POS chain that we've had for a long time. It's it's a side chain technically, but it's a blockchain that does payments and RWAs and other cool things like that. It's the chain that Polymarket uses. If you're familiar with betting, the betting market, Polymarket use case, and it's used also by a number of other payment processors and stuff like that, because it's very user friendly. It's very fast, and so yeah, Polygon is working on those two things primarily, and I'm excited just because they use a lot of ZK tech, which I've always been super nerded out about. Yeah, exactly. So I'm excited to see where their innovations come in the future.
Very cool. So you said an acronym, RWAs?
Oh yes, RWAs are real world assets. That is a use case type, meaning you take a real world asset and you put it on the blockchain to transfer. So for instance, say my car title. I could digitize my car title, put it on the blockchain, so now I can have it cut into pieces and multiple people own it. I can maybe turn it into a financial instrument for some other use case, etc. Kind of how DeFi DeFi, decentralized finance, have these like financial Legos that like stack on top of each other, where you could have a loan and you can trade in that loan and get this other thing and yada yada. Think about taking a real world asset and chopping it up 16 ways for you and your friends to collectively own, or maybe loaning out to someone much quicker than if you were to use a traditional system that's like on the old school.
That sounds very cool. And what's your job there? Like, what's your day-to-day like?
Yeah, so I kind of do a lot of stuff around community building and some strategy, and making sure that people are kind of aware of what Polygon's doing. That's my main jobs. I also am now working with founder communities. So it's a little bit grants and grants adjacent, but it's making sure that if you want to build on Polygon, you have the best experience possible, including help you can get with me, connecting you to different businesses and companies, maybe pointing you to tech tutorials and stuff like that, etc.
Really great. It sounds awesome.
Yeah, it's a really good time.
Very cool. And so the community building aspect of it, I'm very interested in. Like, we have this monthly live stream I mentioned where we talk about community building and tools for community building. What is one tip that you could give to someone who's trying to build a community and like struggling. And in cryptocurrency, we often call it adoption, but I prefer the community building aspect, like idea, much more. So, what can you tell me?
I would say be authentic, fun, and present. So authentic, like don't try to. I mean, you could take inspiration from other community builders, but you don't have to like be fake joyous all the time and like, okay, guys, this is great. This is the best thing ever. Like, you could just be yourself and like talk about interesting things, but you still need to make it fun and like something like a little bit about make it fun and something about like, hey, you know, here's a day that we post pictures of our pets or things like that. Even something small like that, just to kind of build some like. There's only so much you can do to talk about tech all day long and retain the community aspect of it. And then finally, yeah, what did I say? Authenticity, fun, and I forgot the third one.
I did too. I was having so much fun.
Yeah, no, me too. I was having so much fun. So there you go. That's the only two you really need. Yeah. Oh, present.
And present, right?
Yeah, just like be around and like interact with people. And yeah, when I say that, that sounds really simple, but more just like individually be like, hey, welcome to this community server. You know, here's what you're doing. Ooh, another good tip on this: if you do set up like a Telegram or a Discord, have like a place people go to like see. Oh, when you join, here's where you go to read like what everyone's doing, and maybe even like a little paragraph about what your community is about. That's always good. Sometimes people just have a Discord and it just drops them in, and they're like, "What do I do? Where do I go? Why am I here? I don't even know why I'm here now," kind of a thing. So yeah.
Yeah, that's excellent tips. And this authenticity, like that really resonates with me because like vulnerability is an incredible tool.
People respect vulnerability. Yeah.
Yeah, and it can be scary. Like vulnerability is inherently scary. And so trying to be authentic and not just this big smiley face thinking like, oh, everyone's having fun because I'm happy, but really like camera turns off and it all just falls apart. So that authenticity is a good point. And the presence as well, interacting. You mentioned Discord and Telegram, and here we are at ProtocolBerg. Yes. So I have to ask, like, where do you think that there's an alternative to these centralized and monitored, surveilled solutions, things like Discord? Do we have, like, is Matrix working? Where do you recommend people go if they want a decentralized alternative?
There are alternatives. However, when it comes to community building, for 90% of projects, probably more, using these centralized solutions is the way to go because that's just where people are, is Discord and Telegram, especially Telegram. So I've had communities that I've like advised, or I've had situations where people try to bring everybody to Matrix or try to bring everybody to IRC even and stuff like that, where it's like, well, we run our own IRC server, so we control it and da-da-da-da-da. You have to look at like the practicality of it and whether or not the privacy or the things that you're trying to do are performative or not. And it's not performative in the negative way, like you're doing it to be performative, but it's more just like, if it's a community server that's just starting out, as long as you have boundaries about what can be talked about or not, I don't really think that that server is going to be pulled by the government and read. Ideally, we would want all of these to be private and encrypted and things like that. And I would love if we get to a place where we can do that. And that does start with people trying to use stuff like Matrix more. But the closest that's come to that is like Signal chat rooms are actually really good now. So that's one place. But the different, different functionalities that happen in Discord, or the different add-ons they have in Discord and Telegram to do like live video chats and audio chats and stuff like that. It's just like way too tempting, and it's like, that's just where the people are. You have to go where the people are if you're building a community, and that's the trade-off. If you're building a community of privacy enthusiasts, you can use Matrix sometimes. You can use IRC sometimes, but just know your community is only going to be bounded by how many people are that privacy maxi, which might be okay. You might be looking for a community of under 50 people, but a lot of the time with these projects, they want to get as many people as they can in these community servers. So
yeah, definitely. Like, meet people where they are. Very important. Be open. We actually encourage people to live stream anything that they're watching that they're interested in that is applicable to the community back into a Discord community call, so that they can share
nice.
the community and everyone chats about it, which is pretty great. And then also meeting people where they are, like here we come back to live events. Like community builders, we don't necessarily have the option of remaining private. We have to take the chance, we have to be vulnerable and be seen in order to grow the community. There's a lot of value, I think, in live events. Maybe you could talk a little bit more about what you get out of this.
Yeah, live events reinvigorate me personally, and I think it does, like, seeing people in person that like share the same values as you and like are geeked out about the same thing as you and stuff like that is just very different than what you can get online from chat rooms. You can get moments like that, but it's just very, I don't know how to explain it, but it's just a different feeling. And I think that live events are important, and that as we evolve live events, finding ways to get everybody, like for instance, ProtocolBerg, they have the badges, and you can put on your badge or on your T-shirt, no, the camera with crossed out. So that means don't take pictures of me, or I don't want images taken. So like that's like a really cool step for privacy. And so I think there's going to be more privacy steps at live events in the future, where like masks will be more acceptable. Already, I mean, there's some conferences where you can wear a mask, or where you can wear a like some kind of head thing to like cover your face. But yeah, it's just going to be kind of an uphill battle, I think, with certain communities that value privacy. But overall, we're trending toward more acceptance of it.
Very cool. You've been to a lot of events.
Yes.
Do you have a favorite?
I like so every 2 years, Ethereum has a global Ethereum event called DevCon, and I used to run DevCon 2, 3, and 4. I helped co-run it, and so I'm definitely biased because I helped co-run those events. But every year, the event just blows me away. The quality of the speakers and the vibe and the curation of all the stuff is just really, really great. So that's by far my favorite crypto event is DevCon every year.
I'm hearing a lot of this. Like I did some interviews yesterday at Funding the Commons, and we talked a lot about live events. And at least 2 people that I talked to said that this last DevCon in Thailand was like mind blowing.
Yeah, no, yeah, Thailand was mind blowing. I was there. It was actually overwhelming for me because I went there and I knew so many people. It was just like so much hugging and touching and like all this stuff and saying hi to people. And I was just like, I don't even know. I can't even. My brain was just filled with names. It was like so many people, but the content was so good, and the food was good, and the people were good, and yeah, it's like an Ethereum coming home every year.
Nice. Back to this event. ProtocolBerg, we're just starting. It's just the first day. I think it's like almost 3 or something. And so I'm wondering, like, what are you most looking forward to from ProtocolBerg?
I'm most looking forward to seeing how people view interoperability and privacy today, because like you get like the Twitter trash, like the perspectives on Twitter that like are good and bad and in between, and then noise. That's what I'm looking for, noise. You get all that noise, but to like really cut through the noise and see the real people building and the real people who dedicate their lives to this, how they're feeling about it, is a really cool thing to talk to people about, and then bring home that perspective and apply it to, you know, what you're working on. In fact, there's actually, if it's almost 3, I think there's a talk at 3 I got to get to anyway, because there's one by Paul, my friend Paul Dylan Enos, and he's gonna have a great talk on like some of the social aspects of crypto communities.
Very nice. That sounds excellent. And what about the bigger picture of Berlin Blockchain Week? Are you going to other events? What are you excited about?
I'm going to DAppCon. I'll be honest, I got lazy and forgot to look up any of the other ones, so I need to do that. But I love Berlin, and I think Berlin's a great place to have this because there's a very big cypherpunk like chokehold in Berlin and the community around here. A lot of like rebellion and a lot of like stuff that really rings true for a lot of crypto people.
Do you consider yourself a cypherpunk?
Yep, absolutely. Yeah,
awesome.
like, and it's a cool thing to say. Like, it sounds cool. Yeah, cypher. Yeah, no, yeah. So like I think everyone should be a cypherpunk if they want to, because it's really neat. Yeah.
Cool. Hudson, thank you very much.
Thank you.
This was a really great opportunity to talk with you, and I'm glad that you agreed and that we had this great conversation.
Well, thank you so much. I'm Hudson Jameson on Twitter. That's probably at hudsonjameson.com. Those are the two places to find me. Yeah, otherwise, I think I don't have anything else to shill, really. I'm pretty easygoing. Thank you so much for the opportunity for this whole chat.
Thanks, Hudson, again.